If the YF-21 creates a downward force right now...
I won't let you catch up! Always been...
I told you, I don't watch new anime anymore. I especially don't watch sci-fi or mecha anime anymore. And it's not because the technology isn't advanced enough, because it is. And it's not because the plots aren't allowed to be emotional or complex, because they kind of are. And it's not because millennials are too sophisticated to watch anything with depth nowadays and you need CGI, because you don't, and they aren't, and whatever. It's just, one day, some visionaries made a bold decision to bleed cutting-edge animation, deep themes of like love, artificial intelligence, human conflict, amnesia, like all kinds of things. And Macross Plus just became the perfect storm. It brought together high-octane dogfights with the Gundams, like their jets, they turn into robots. Awesome. Human conflict. Macross Plus was just amazing. Like, it brought together all of this stuff, and it gave you a love triangle that wasn't gay or stupid, and there's no werewolves or vampires. How could you not love that? And it wasn't just about robots fighting. It was about the cost of progress, the cost of love, how humanity struggles when it builds something too powerful. It had kind of similar themes to like Top Gun, so it's got that bit on it too. It raised the bar for like what they call mecha anime, giant fighting seizure robots, blending action, drama, science fiction, and vibes with an emotional depth that you just don't get this anymore. You just don't get this anymore. And now that AI is a thing, I can't help but think that Grok will be doing an AI takeover of the world with giant mechanized jets in about 5 years. So enjoy what you got now for the mechs takeover. It was not the first. It's not the last. It's actually, for some reason, I don't think it's the most popular one of them at all, of all the Macross series, but that's fine. It was, and I'm gonna get the names wrong, just deal with it. It was directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, a visionary in the world of anime. You might recognize him from other works such as Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop. Sounds familiar. He always had like a really good way of using the medium to tell stories, not as a way to show off how good the medium is. And it's left like there's very few people that leave as much of an impact on the genre as him. The main writer was some guy, Keiichi Okabe, he's only ever worked on the Macross franchise. He created a story that weaves together AI, human emotion, futuristic warfare, childhood trauma, that kind of thing. And he dives into complex stuff and maintains a good, engaging narrative. Like, these guys are really good quality people. I wish that we had as much information about them on things like IMDb as we do for a lot of directors, because I would be very curious to see what these guys did beforehand. I would love to find out they're like a Bryan Singer type. Like, oh, before this I worked as a private detective or something like that. Or, hey, the Godzilla guy who created that, he trained me in everything I know. Like, I love little details like that. Unfortunately, I it's hard to find, and I don't speak Japanese nearly as well as I need to learn any of that stuff. But the box office. So it was produced a budget of about 10 million. And I don't know what it made in the box office in Japan, but it probably did pretty well for itself. But it grossed about $1.5 million in America, which not great, but it's pretty good for an OVA with a niche, passionate audience. But it really made back a fortune in DVD and video sales. And this is one of those reasons that we're not getting this back anymore. See, back in the day, anime was all hand-drawn by studios. You used to get like armies of Koreans sitting in an office somewhere, just doing the in-betweens. And a movie would do okay, because back there, they didn't think of animation the way we do here. It's like, oh, cartoons are for kids. For them, cartoons is just a filming style. You make the same movies you'd make with adults, it's just use animation as opposed to actors. And video and DVD were the reason that these things could build with decently, like, cheap budgets by Hollywood standards, but big budgets as far as other countries in animation are concerned, making it all back in DVD sales. But now you have so many streaming services that have kind of ruined the financial structure for that. And so you have to make these cheaper. And the way you make them cheaper is a lot of CG and AI in between. And the problem is it's changed the aesthetics. It's changed the vibe. There is a character to the hand-drawn stuff you see here. And if they do use CG, it's mostly just to get wireframe so that they can hand paint over it. Like, those days are gone. So you have like a 30-year period here, and just enjoy it. All right, pause. And this is the part where I talk about I hate, and I mean I hate, YouTube movie reviews. Thankfully, the commies didn't say anything about this one. Thank God the film students don't give a fuck. And thank God the critical drinker has no interest in anime whatsoever. Like, the only problem I have with people who review this is it's a bunch of weeaboos who don't do this nearly enough justice. They sit there with a wall full of Gundams behind them talking about, and don't get me wrong, I agree with them, it's a great movie, but I think it deserves better. I think like the average regular movie going experience, you'd be surprised at how good it is once you look past the weeaboo aesthetics and you just look at it on the movie's own terms. And that's really been the key to this channel. Like, watch a movie on the movie's terms, forget about all the hype and all the fan base and all the stands and all that stuff, because it's all just a distraction. And then you'll find, dude, this is amazing. This is amazing. So there's really 3 themes in Macross Plus. The first one is the conflict between technology and humanity. I'll get to it in the plot later. There's 2 different fighters that they're doing tests for right now, and the 2 main characters are flying them to test them out. One of them integrated completely with the brain, so he doesn't have to control it with his hands. There's no mechanical stuff. And the other one is all mechanical and human. And then there's a third jet that's coming in that's completely robotic. And so you start to see the interplay between artificial intelligence, human augmentation, and humanity, letting us know, like, do we still have a place in this universe with the way technology has gotten? It's pretty cool. The second one, identity, memory, and the power of the past. So on this one, all 3 of the main characters, they all have a similar past. One refuses to talk about it and refuses to acknowledge it. The other one refuses to remember it. It's been completely blocked. And the third guy remembers everything, but he refuses to talk about it. But he refuses to, like, he kind of protects people from it. But it's neat to see that exploration between how the past affects us today and how we choose to deal with it. And then the third, it's the complexity of love and relationships. It's not like a love story like you would see, like man gets girl, man loses girl, anything like that. No, it gets pretty complex, and I can't really do it justice here, but as you watch I think it's 6 episodes, or was it 4, 6? I should look this up before I put my mouth on YouTube. As you get through the 4 episodes, you kind of get exposed to a lot of complex issues, including a little bit of sexual assault. Not going to lie to you there, but I don't want to spoil things for you. So there's really 3 characters and an AI. That's the main thing in the movie. The first is voiced by, and I'm going to get these wrong, Akiko Yajima plays Sharon Apple. Sharon Apple is the ultimate AI idol. Think of, what do they call those stupid things now? Xtuber? Not Xtubers, or maybe Xtubers. The ones where it's just like an anime waifu and they're streaming games, but it's just all animated. Anyways, it's like that. And she wants to be the ultimate idol and is hooked on getting audience emotions and gaining total influence over them, because that's how you become a great pop star. Now, her need, and she's kind of the villain in this one, her need is to break free from her programming and understand the complexity of human emotions as well as take them over, and that's kind of built from the other characters, but we'll get into that in a second. Next is Shinichi Watanabe. He plays Guld Bowman. He is the fake enemy ally. He wants to prove he's a better fighter than Samu, and he wants to win the girl's heart because he thinks there's been some childhood rivalry, even the cost of his own mental health. Very tough, very stoic, very strong. What you would think of right now as like a beta male fantasy, which if you don't understand, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. So he has a lot of emotional scars for this one, and he has a lot of violent tendencies, and he wants to win the girl and he wants to win the fight, but what he needs is to come to terms with his past and accept himself as a flawed person. Now, this one's a tragic arc, and he makes a fatal flaw where he decides to give up, and he refuses to do so and sacrifices himself for the plot, but we'll get into that later. Next is, you know what? I'm going to do the dubbed one on this one. Bryan Cranston. Look at Malcolm in the Middle. Walter White does Isamu. The main character, I thought that was like at the time, it's nobody cared. This was before Malcolm in the Middle and all that stuff. He was just some guy, but you watch it now, it's like all of a sudden finding that Akira was like Tom Cruise did the voices for you. Like, what the fuck? It's awesome. And I would strongly suggest, like, as much as there's always these arguments over subtitled versus dubbed, I like the dubbed on this one. Bryan really elevates this stuff. And it's a simple one. He's the Top Gun character. Wants to prove himself. He's reckless. And he likes the thrills. He likes the adventures. He's very devil may care. And this is his last chance. Like, he's screwed up so much. Like, you test these things, you got a chance of staying in the forces. Now, as things progress, he's kind of the hero that just goes through it. There's not a huge character arc, other than he has to do a little bit of growing up on it. For the most part, he does the same serialized hero that Dolph Lundgren does in I Come in Peace, where his character doesn't change a huge amount, but he is the vessel to drive the plot forward so that everybody around him gets their character arcs. And then finally, you have Myung Fang Lone. Or Myun, I never get these ones right. Anyways, that's the love interest. She also created the AI, Sharon Apple, and you find out later that she's actually using her brain interface the same way that they do on the Jets to power the pop star, which causes her to kind of go crazy because, again, she's not dealing with her past. So she wants to have like a great music career and to be the most popular programmer for an AI artist in the world. But what she needs to do is come to terms with her childhood assault, her childhood romanticisms. Now, the OVA is not so much about setups and payoffs. It's more about reveals. Like, as the story continues, you get more information about the characters, which helps give you context and meaning behind what it seems like nonsensical actions early on, which is a really great way of doing things, and I wish more storytellers would. This is where they treat you like an adult. Like, Myung has an emotional history with Gold and Usamu. I don't know how much... Yeah, you know what, I'll say it, whatever. So Gold, and this is the reveal at the end, so if you don't want spoilers, turn this off now. He ended up assaulting her back in the day. Isamu caught them, got into a fight, but because it was such a traumatic event for him, Gold remembers it differently. He remembers it as Isamu was the one who assaulted her and he came in to defend her. And that's why he can't understand why she keeps talking to him and she acts very avoidant. And it, like a lot of the characters, that makes no sense early on until you see it later on. And it's slowly revealed gradually. And you realize this whole time, Usamu, who he thought was his greatest enemy, is actually his greatest friend trying to hide him from the painful truth. At the same time, Myung has like a huge crush on Isamu, who's the one who got away. Her emotional state ends up influencing Sharon Apple, which causes her to turn crazy, becomes a Latino girlfriend, and starts trying to kill everybody and take over, and she wants to win him for herself. It's a bit of a weeaboo moment when you have like these 7-foot tall knockers coming right into Isamu's face. It's anime, it's okay. It's just, they like beating you over the head with metaphors. So the plot. I'm going to be very brief with this one because it's a 4-episode series, and if I just went point by point like I usually do, we'd be here all day. Watch the series. I'm going to hit the very, very broad strokes, but if you watch the series, you're going to catch a lot more depth on it, and I guarantee you'll have a far better experience. So, Isamu, introduced, talented, reckless pilot. There's this new project, Supernova. He has to move to this planet to go be a pilot for it. Myung, the formal idol, and she used to be a pop star. Isamu and her used to have the history. They end up coming into town to do some things with this AI Sharon Apple. Gold, skilled pilot with a complicated past. He's in there too to test the other ship. So Isamu's ship is all human controlled. It's the best of the best. Gold's is one that's interfaced directly with his brain to show like a cybernetic one. And a lot of hijinks. It's kind of got that Top Gun rivalry thing. They almost get each other killed constantly. And then throughout all of this stuff, you're starting to get slow drip feeds of the character developments of their past. And then as this goes through, Sharon, the AI, gets to be more popular, with her virtual concerts becoming a sensation. Eventually, the AI starts to latch onto her emotional instability from Myung and starts to hypnotize and take over the brains, hack into the brains of various people, like her producer, the audience, stuff like that. It ends up becoming a serious threat. And at some point, the Space Force decides to do away with both projects and go with a fully automated robot drone. They're just faster and better than humans in all ways, and they make better decisions. The both of them don't like this, so they eventually... And then here's the problem. The AI takes over for them as well. So now you have a completely AI-controlled Cyberdyne army. And at the same time, Guld's emotions are kind of getting the best of them. They're having a big, huge fight here, but they eventually have to put things aside to go save Myung. Sharon treats her as like a threat to Isamu's love in this weird little way. And so he has to go and invade the main concert, take on a flight of the brand new fighter jets. They're the most advanced in the world, and these guys are like just from pure grit and determination trying to do something about it. And the final battle, I don't want to go through beat by beat, like it's worth watching on its own merits, but the big point of it is Guld realizes that he was the villain this whole time and that everybody was trying to protect him because they are still friends. He comes to terms with who he was, but he doesn't move past it. And so he decides to sacrifice himself so Isamu can go and save Myung and take out the AI. And yay, day for everybody. So yeah, man, we had a brief period in the 90s where we didn't know how good we had it. We didn't. We had some of the most iconic anime ever made, and Macross Plus was right in the middle of it all. It was one of the best, even if most people don't talk about it nearly enough. Nearly enough. It had Bryan Cranstons. Like, you have actors, you're amazing actors. You just didn't know were playing quick voice roles for it, which is awesome. And we didn't know it at the time. But this set the standard for how good and emotionally complex you could make anime. Like, I don't know, man. I just love it. And there's no way you don't. And I'm not talking about the whole nostalgic thing that people do now where they laugh at dated animation or the melodrama, or they like it because they liked it when they were 10. I mean genuinely loving it. I mean the style. Yeah, there may have been technical limitations to why it was done, but now there's like a style to it that you can absolutely enjoy and embrace. The soundtrack is excellent. The character development is intense. The conflict between man, machine, and artificial intelligence. Like, it's a story that treated you like you weren't an idiot, and it let you figure it out on your own, and that's awesome. And it was in a world just before slick CGI and big budget shows ruined the genre for us. Like, it's just a straightforward, emotional, visually stunning story about identity, ambition, the price of perfection, the price of technology. It wasn't flashy battles and convoluted plots. It's just awesome. It's the kind of series that gives you everything you need. And above all, it treats you like you're part of the world. It wraps you in the tragedy and the catharsis, and it never wastes a second of your time. So enjoy it, because I damn well did. Cheers, fellas.
No! Get away!